Visual perception is a behavior that really derives other behaviors, and the way an animal focuses on what it sees determines what behavior it will do next. So, visual perception in itself can be seen here in the observation of the coyote. It's very basic footage on a loop, which observes it where the coyote is observing its surroundings and really illustrates easily a hypothesis for each of Tim Burton's 4 levels of analysis. A coyote's perception is its interpretation of its surroundings, and through development, a coyote understands what to look for when it needs food or when it needs to run from a predator, but it's the interpretation of what it currently sees that stimulates its reactions. For example, coyotes are excellent foragers with a keen sense of smell and good eyesight. They use these tools to locate their prey, at times to look out for predators as well, which is a developed trait. A recent study published by Baker and others suggests that visual cues are just as important in foraging tactics as olfactory cues. They found that coyotes were not discriminating large versus small quantities of food based on olfactory cues alone. Instead, they were visually tracking quantity, and the ability for a coyote to distinguish what is better quantifiably aids in their survival and fitness. So, my hypothesis generated from this would be that coyotes have adapted keen visual perception to stimulate reaction for an overall better fitness. Alright, this brings us to phylogeny. As we look at how coyotes see in terms of night and day, while this guy continues to observe during his daily routine, this leads us to questions of how the strong ability for coyotes to be diurnal, to be able to see during night and day, came to be. According to Rolf Hutt and others, environmental factors may have actually led to temporal niche switch in nocturnal species. Coyotes, with their divergence to cone development, that intensified their ability to see during the day, and that is although they are rod dominant. And according to their findings, I've really just come up with the hypothesis that a coyote's visual perception is derived from its history as a nocturnal species. Visual perception is really a chemical balance of an organism that is stimulated from light that enters the eye and is transferred via neural activity. A recent study by Akira Muto and others in 2007 showed that light alone intensified the glucocorticoid levels in an adult zebrafish, causing it to have a freezing behavioral response, which is really stress-induced behavioral response. So this really generated a hypothesis for me that visual perception is derived from chemical imbalances within an organism spawned from light activity. Alright, this brings us to the last hypothesis under development. In J. Martineau's piece of visual perception in humans, animals, and children, I quote him stating that in humans, the perception of biologically possible movements activates the primary motor cerebral cortex, the superior parietal and the frontal cerebral cortex, and the cerebellum, in addition to visual structures, i.e. any structures known to play a role in the preparation of movement. And he really bases this all in the piece off of human movement and animal movement and experience or visual perception. This drives a hypothesis that visual perception is developed because of preparatory moments of action or movement.